For hundreds of years, people would travel thousands of miles to worship their God at a specific place in a temple designed for that God. And as we look back, it's easy in our culture to think we're so much more advanced. We've moved past that. But what if we haven't? What if all we've done is taken the same old gods and rebranded them? Rebranded them in something that we're calling American gods. There is one of the most insensitive stories in all of Scripture in the Old Testament. The setup is that God has caused a famine in the land, and a famine means nobody has anything. People are broke financially. There's no food, there's no money, there's no stuff. And one of the prophets, Elijah, is walking through this place. He's hungry, and so he just walks up to this random lady and is like, hey, do you have anything to eat? I'm hungry, I'm thirsty, would love some stuff. And her response in 1 Kings chapter 17, verse 12 is this: as surely as the Lord your God lives, she replied, I don't have any bread, only a handful of flour in a jar and a little olive oil in a jug. I'm gathering a few sticks to take home and make a meal for myself and my son. That way we may eat it and die. That is a sad story. And really, if you think about it, like, if it's in my mind, I'm writing a story, like the next line is the prophet looks at her and goes, oh my goodness, let me pray for you. And I'm so sorry, I'll find somebody else, or something other than what is said here. This woman just said she has nothing. She has one meal left. She's getting some firewood and she's getting ready to die with her and her son. And here is what the man of God, the person who represents God's salvation to God's people, here's what he says. Elijah said to her, don't be afraid. Go home and do as you have said. But first make a small loaf of bread for me from what you have and bring it to me, and then make something for yourself and your son. For this is what the Lord, the God of Israel, says: the jar of flour will not be used up and the jug of oil will not run dry until the day the Lord sends rain on the land. Two things. Number one is, in the middle of all this, God says, hey, I got you. You think you're gonna die. The jug's not gonna run dry. The flour's not gonna run out. You're gonna be okay. But first, I'd like some bread. Before you do any of that, I want you to go home. I know you're destitute. I know you got nothing. I know you think you're starving. I want you to go home, make me some bread. Bring it to me. Bring me some water first. And then God will bless you. Again, it feels so insensitive. And yet, what we see throughout Scripture is God consistently leverages and uses money as a test to find out where people's hearts are at. Because money tends to be the thing that we focus on too much. Money tends to be the thing that we lean into. If we've got a full bank account, then we're okay. And so today we're going to unpack a different story. We're going to talk about the God of money, and what better place to do it than New York City. We've been in New York for about 48 hours now, and I gotta tell you, it has been just captivating on so many levels. From a negative standpoint, it is crowded, busy, loud. There's dirt and trash everywhere. It smells a little bit too much like pot for my comfort. But on the positive, man, it's incredible. It is culturally diverse in so many ways and beautiful. The food options are just all over the place. The entertainment is whatever you can think of. And maybe the most important, the reason that we're here, the reason we're shooting this here in front of Trump Tower of all places, is because of money. If you want to make it, this is the place you show up. If you want opportunity, this is the place you move to, because there is not a better place in the world than to move to New York City and make the money. With the Fed Reserve, with Wall Street, with the New York Stock Exchange, it is all here for your taking. This place is all about the Benjamins. And again, that in of itself isn't necessarily bad. There's a passage where Paul writes, and he's speaking to Timothy, and he's writing to him about kind of, how to conduct yourself and your life in the church. And he says this, I think, often misquoted verse. What he says is, for the love of money is the root of all kinds of evil. It's not that money is evil. There is this way to kind of look at money and go, it's gift, God, or gross. And really, the middle is where we're at. It's a gift. It's not God, which is the problem. It's not gross. It's bad. It's not money is evil. It's not money is God. It's a tool. It's a gift. And when Paul writes that whole section, he says, listen, when you lean into money, when you love money, what happens is it starts to put a root inside your soul and shape you and produce all kinds of evil. Evil like greed that consumes you. Narcissism that makes you think because you have it and they don't, you're better than them. Disrespect towards people who you think are lower than you. Just an ability to walk through life with pride and ego. It starts to do all these things inside of you when you lean into it. And most importantly, it starts to shape your soul and how you view the world. Money is not the problem. The love of money is. And that's what we're going to talk about today as we're in New York. In the New Testament, Jesus preaches one of the most complete sermons in history. It is incredible. And in the middle of it, he starts to speak about money. Now, let me be clear. The context is this. He's speaking to people who are dirt poor and people who are incredibly rich. It goes across the spectrum. It's not just to one demographic. And because of that, he's hitting a whole bunch of different topics. One of them being money. And he ends it in such a powerful way. He ends it with this statement, Matthew chapter 6, verse 24. He says it this way, no one can serve two masters. He's setting up something. He says, listen, at the end of the day, you're going to serve someone or something. We in America, we don't like to think that we serve anyone. We like to think that we're free. We like to think that we're our own masters. But he says, no. You're going to be a servant to one or the other. You have to choose. And then he goes on. He says, either you will hate the one and love the other, or you'll be devoted to the one and despise the other. And so he's taken the stakes even higher. He's like, no, not only are you going to choose one, not only are you going to serve one, the other one, there's a part of you that's going to despise. You're going to hate it. You're going to have the attitude that brings me nothing. And then he says, pretty famous line, you cannot serve both God and money. He speaks to the masses and he says, you have to choose whom you're going to serve, God or money. And I think in the church, that tension is still there. In America, where money is so affluent, we are one of, if not the richest nation in the world. It's a big God. And I think what he's really trying to say, and what I hope you see is this, that I believe what he's saying is you cannot serve God fully until you're willing to sacrifice your money faithfully. That you can do a little bit. And again, I think the church is full of those people, that there are people and they show up and they've given God part of their life. They've given him, maybe their weekends, they might volunteer and serve. They've given them their time. They're going to show up and they're going to sit in the seats and listen to a sermon and try to be a better person. But Jesus is kind of throwing down the gauntlet here. And he's like, no, the issue is which you choose will be your master. And in the church, for so many people, and we hate to admit it, money is our master. Said a little bit differently, you're either going to sacrifice your relationship with God to continue to serve your master money, to continue to build that bank account or purchase those things or go on those vacations. You're either going to look at God and go, I don't have enough, therefore I'm going to keep serving money, or you're going to have to be willing to faithfully sacrifice your finances to kind of go, no, I'm going to not lean into that. I'm going to trust God, and I'm going to build my relationship with God as I walk away from my money. But make no mistake, as we start this kind of unpacking of a powerful passage, you have to choose. You cannot serve both God and money. For so many, there's a roadblock for them to be willing to serve God faithfully with their finances. And I get it. I hear all of the excuses and all of the examples of I don't have enough, or Nick, you don't understand what I've walked through, or whatever. And I totally get that. I do. Which is why I think what happens is Jesus kind of knows this. And we started with the end, but right before he talks about you're going to choose, you're going to serve one or the other, he says this. He looks at them and he says, the eye is the lamp of the body. If your eyes are healthy, your whole body will be full of light. He looks at the crowd and he says, listen, what you look at matters. Said differently, you become what you behold. And too often we want to disconnect the two. We want to sit back and go, no, I can look at this, I can think about this, I can even maybe fantasize about this and having this or whatever, and it's disconnect from what I do. I can separate those two things, but Jesus says, no, listen. If you look at the right things, there will be light inside of you, there will be peace inside of you, there will be joy inside of you. But he goes on, but if your eyes are unhealthy, and that word unhealthy in the Greek is actually stingy. He says there's a way that your eyes are stingy, that when you see what other people have, there's a part of you that wishes and wonders why you don't have it. There's a part of you that's a little bit greedy, that wishes you had more than what you currently have. There's a way to walk through life where you're always shopping for what you don't have and missing what you do. And he says that starts with what you look at, what you seek, because you become what you behold. It's a little bit of a callback to what we said a few moments ago in 1 Timothy chapter 6. For the love of money is the root of all kinds of evil. And he says, if your eyes are stingy, if they're unhealthy, your whole body will be full of darkness. If then the light within you is darkness, how great is that darkness? The tension is this. You'll never sacrifice your finances faithfully until you're willing to seek God's kingdom first. That what we look at, what we focus on, really determines where we go and what we do in our hearts. And often what it is we want to seek our kingdom first. We want to seek our stuff. We want to build our world and our kingdom. And so it's about my trips and my vacations and my stuff that I want and the car that I want and the type of house that I want and the type of childhood that I want to give my children and all those different things. And what is missed? What is missed is God's kingdom. And as long as you're seeking your kingdom first, you're going to never be at a place where you're going to sacrifice faithfully and serve God. It'll always be your kingdom over God's kingdom. That's the second thing. Which kingdom are you looking at? You'll never sacrifice faithfully until you're willing to seek God's kingdom first. The tension for many of us, though, is how do we seek God's kingdom first? I mean, what does that look like? In fact, some of you may be sitting back going, Nick, are you kidding me? I seek God's kingdom. Okay, I read my Bible. I invite people to church. I have great attendance. I serve on the weekends. I love people. I forgive. I do all these things. Are you kidding me? How much more can I do to seek God's kingdom? But all of those things are things that Jesus says, yeah, they're important. But the reason you're willing to sacrifice those things is because they don't have your heart. That to seek God's kingdom first, he says a few verses earlier, and he unpacks it, and it's so powerful if we can get it. He said this way, do not store up for yourselves treasures on earth where moths and vermin destroy and where thieves break in and steal. I'm sitting next to the Bank of New York, and right down the street is the New York Stock Exchange. And so many of us are tempted to store our treasures here, to put them safely away where we can get them and use them whenever we want, to store it in a 401k in retirement, in whatever that is. We put it in different places all over, but it's all about this life and this world. And maybe some of you are thinking, Nick, I don't have enough money to put it in the stock market. Are you kidding me? I don't have that much money. No, for you, it might be you're storing it in your hobby or your boat or your house or that car that you really, really wanted and probably can't totally afford because the payments are killing you, but you really, really, really wanted it. And it's just like what the scripture said, the moths and vermin, or in the case of the car, the rust is destroying it. Jesus starts this whole section on money and says, your temptation, like my temptation, is to take our money and invest it here on earth, and everything here fades away. He goes on though, and he says, but store up for yourselves treasures in heaven where moths and vermin do not destroy and where thieves do not break in and steal. He says there's a way to leverage temporal things to have an eternal impact. There's two kingdoms. There's this kingdom and God's kingdom, the kingdom of heaven. And at the end of the day, what he's saying is this: you'll never seek his kingdom first until you're willing to store your treasure in heaven. That's the step. That if you want to know what it looks like to seek God's kingdom and therefore to serve him as God, it's ultimately to store your treasure in heaven. We say it as a church like this. Our core value number one is we will be willing to sacrifice the things we love for those we love. Because while things fade away, everyone spends eternity somewhere. And so we have to be willing to leverage these things. The ultimate test in our lives of who we will serve has to do with our things, our stuff, our money. But maybe the most important thing, the thing that's holds so many people back, is the last verse. It's a famous verse. Jesus says it this way, and it is so cool. He says, for where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. Don't miss the order. I think the order is what messes so many people up in life. Is we want it to be our faithfulness follows our feelings. And if God would just make us feel a certain way, whenever you're ready to give, if you feel motivated, if you feel like it's a good cause, if you feel like it's the right thing, then you'll do it. Then you'll give to it. Then you'll support it. Then you'll fund it. But that's not what Jesus says. Jesus says it's the flip side, that actually feelings follow faithfulness. That the reason that you don't feel like giving and you don't feel like connected to the church, or you don't feel connected to God's kingdom or feel like it's a priority, isn't because God hasn't given you the right feeling yet. God isn't being faithful to you yet. He's like, no. He's like, you need to be willing to store your treasure first, and then your feelings will follow. Where your treasure is, that's where your heart is. Where you invest your money, your heart will follow. Where you put your bank account and your stuff, your heart will be there. So the question is this: where is your heart? Because where your heart is, there's a good chance that your money and your things and your stuff have been there for a while already. As I've been walking through this, there may be part of you that has just viscerally fought against me. Just a little bit angry, maybe a little bit frustrated that I would talk about this, and maybe it justifies all of your previous views about the church and God, and they just care about your money and it's all about money for them, and there's just this angst in you, and I get it. I do. As a pastor of over 20 years, I've seen it, and yet my concern is this, and maybe this is where you're at, that you'll never store up treasure in heaven until you've been saved by his grace. See, my big fear for the church is it is full of people who have experienced parts of God, who kind of want to be a better person. They're trying to do the right things. They're willing to learn and practice some ways, but they've never really been saved by his grace. And if you have never been saved, the reality is this: you can't give what you've never been given. This is why I love John 3:16. It is the gospel in a verse where it says, "For God so loved the world that he gave his only son, that whoever believes in him should not perish but have everlasting life." See, the reason that I can give my finances, the reason I can give my life, everything, is because I know what I've received. I know what I've been given. That Christ has given me something new, something amazing. He's given me life. He's given me purpose. He's given me focus. He's given me everything that I could ever want. And because of that, because I'm a new creation in him, well, he can have whatever he wants in my life. He can have my time. He can have my talents. He can have my money. He can have my thoughts. He has me. And my money just reveals that. It doesn't earn it. Let me be very clear. You can't buy God. But my willingness to sacrifice my money just shows where my heart is at, because where your treasure is, there's where your heart will be also. So as we wrap up today, I just want to ask of the steps, if we could flip it really quickly. There's saved, store, seek, sacrifice, and then serve. Where are you? If you're being honest, where are you on that list? And for some of you, maybe you need to give your life to Christ. You've never been saved. For some of you, maybe you need to start to store your treasure in heaven. You've never really give faithfully. For some, man, you just need to start seeking God, spending time and allowing him to move you and start to become what you behold and do that. For some, it needs to be sacrificial. And for others, you're at that place. You're serving God with everything you are. You are sacrificing the things you love for those you love. I want to ask you and invite you, would you look at where you're at, evaluate that, and then ask the question, what's holding you back from taking the next step? What's holding you back from being all in from God, to walking away from the God of money and trusting the God of your salvation? In light of all this, I want to leave you with 5 questions. Number 1 is this: when you make decisions, are they based on faith or finances? When God calls you to do something, when you feel a nudging to give something or to start doing something, I don't know. What is the deciding factor? Is it your faith in God and who he's called you to be? Or is it your bank account number? Is it what you think you can afford? Is that going to be the deciding factor? Too often, people get stuck looking at a number on a screen and not trusting in the God who's created everything. It's question number 1. Second question is this, and I love it. It's, when you get more money, do you first think about what you can buy or who you can bless? I love this question because, again, as a pastor, I hear all the time from people, Nick, if I just had more money, I could give more money. That's the issue. I have an income problem. If I just had more, then I could give more. And I think they believe that. I really do. The problem is, every year, many of those same people, they get a tax return, and in one moment they have an income surplus. They get more money, but they do not think through who they can bless more and how they can build God's kingdom. No, for many of those people, it's, I can afford that vacation, I can get that car payment down, I can pay off that debt, I could buy that TV I wanted. It's about what we can buy, because money is so deceptive. I love what David Platt says. He says, when your salary goes up, does your standard of living go up or standard of giving go up? For many of us, we make more now than we've ever made, and we give the same or even less. And so, just when you get more money, is the first thing you think about is what you can buy or who you can bless? Question number 3 is this. Would you be willing to walk away from financial security if God asked you to? I have had to deal with this. I've walked through this tension in this situation before. In fact, when we started the church, I had to walk away from some financial security. I took a big risk financially with many other people. And I will tell you, it is one of the best blessings I've ever had. I'm so grateful for it. But at the same time, it was a risk. It was a faith journey that I had to make the decision of, am I willing to walk away from it? And for some of you, this can look like one of two things. For some, it may be that you're being called to give more than you currently are. It requires you to kind of walk away from trusting your bank account. God's going to ask you to step into giving more. For others, it may be God wants you to walk away from a career, to step into a calling. And so it's not necessarily give more, but it's, are you willing to walk away from the security that your job brings? For some, it may be a person who says, no, I need to be home with my kids more. I'm gonna sacrifice the financial security that my job offers to go home and raise the kids because I feel like that's God's calling in my life. I don't know what it is. I know money can hold us captive. And maybe God's asking you to walk away from some security in your finances. Question number 4 is this. Do you make excuses for why you can't be more generous right now? Again, maybe it's, I don't have enough money. We've already covered that one. Maybe it's, you don't know my situation. I don't know what it is. I know that it's easy for us to make excuses. And the tension is this. The only question you need to ask is, what's God asking me to do? Right now, if you're being honest, the conviction that I believe the Holy Spirit works in our lives, what is that right now? It could be to give more. It could be to step away from some different situations. It could be walk away from a job. It could be to change how you spend the other 90% that you have. I don't know what it is, but are you willing to quit making the excuses of why you can't be faithful and trust God completely with your finances? Last one's number 5, and it's this. Are you serving money, or is money serving your God? Jesus is really clear. You can't have it both ways. You either serve God or you serve money. And you get to make the decision. God's blessed us all differently with different amounts of money, but you get to make that decision. And my hope and prayer is that you would step into faithfulness to God, that these questions and this message might reveal in your heart, in all of our hearts, that we are so tempted to lean into financial security, into the God of money, and that we would find freedom trusting in the God of our salvation. In 1983, New York built a bronze statue of George Washington representing the value that this city stood for of freedom from a tyrannical government. They wanted to make it known that this area, this place, this country is all about freedom. And that's what we say. That's kind of our stated beliefs. We're the land of the free, which makes it so much more sad when you realize 6 years later, they built a different bronze statue to their real God. It's the one right there. It's the bronze bull that people flock from all over to rub. It's the one that this city is really known for, because when we're being honest, New York's God is not freedom, it's money. And when we're being honest, for many of us, our real God isn't freedom, it isn't Yahweh, it isn't Jesus, that many of us, we lean into the God of money. And so wherever you find yourself at today, I want you to know that there is hope. If you want to know more about who Jesus is, we have a care team on both sides, or you can stop by the Next Steps desk. Or maybe you just don't know what's next. You believe in God, but you are so in debt. You have so messed up your finances, you're not sure what's next. I want you to know we would love to partner with you. It's the same thing, care team, Next Steps desk, or you can email us at info@riverlakechurch.com. Wherever you're at, our mission is to make it easy for everyone to find and follow Jesus, because we at our core believe this, that the gospel of Jesus changes everything, and he can change you too.